they are labeled with 1 and 2. I believe that if the council chooses to release one and not the other, that it could be done. It's not usual to release part of an executive session, but the way that they were dealing, the executive session was dealing with two separate and distinct issues, and given the way that they were written up with one on one page and one on the other, I believe that it would be possible to release one without the other. And so if that would be the council's pleasure, I think we could do that. The one that pertains to the pending bill, I would respectfully suggest to the council that that would not be released yet until that matter is completely concluded. However, again, that's the council's pleasure.
Hey, you talk about concluded until the check is issued and accepted and cashed.
Exactly.
Okay, so council, you have a choice of either approving and retaining both sessions, or approving and releasing both, or approving and releasing only item 2. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we approve and retain the entirety of the executive session.
Motion, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ward. Roll call?
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Mayor Longi?
Yes. Move on to item number 4, Treasurer's Report from August of 2022.
Yes. For August 2022, governmental funds had revenues of $486,145 versus $362,075 in expenses. As a result, there was a positive change in fund balance of $124,070. Governmental funds year-to-date is in the black to the tune of $98,050. Business side for August 2022, the water funds had revenues of $240,778 and expenses of $208,938. This amounted to a positive change in fund balance of $31,840. Year-to-date, water funds is in the red by $129,397. In regards to total city cash less accounts payable and payroll, it increased by 7% from $4.648 million, or $369,795. A portion of this can be contributed to the payment received from District 300 in the amount of $136,602.
Are there any questions? Before you vote, I do want to let you know that our the last couple, 2 or 3 months, we've been off significantly as far as I'm concerned. I don't have the figure in front of me. Ruth, did you bring those by chance?
I did not. I don't
Okay.
have a copy.
Even the business district was down a little bit. And I don't know whether that's a situation of general cable retooling, getting ready for the winter months. I do know that they're getting a new piece of machinery in, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the business district money was down about $10,000, and I think sales tax was down almost $40,000 in 1 month. So I don't know if inflation's finally seeing a reality, and gas prices are starting to tighten up people's pocketbooks. I just don't know, but I just wanted to make you aware of the fact that sales tax isn't as glorious as it was 6 months ago. Any questions about the Treasurer's Report? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Kirkpatrick,
Second.
second by Commissioner Genizio. Roll call.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Longi?
Yes. Commissioners, before you are the bills from the previous meeting till the present day. Trust you've all had a chance to take a look at the bills. Are there any questions on the bills? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Kirkpatrick,
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ward. Roll call.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Mayor Longery?
Yes. There's no proclamation. We'll move on to guests. We have 3 today. The first, Chuck, do you want to introduce them, or do you want me? You can. I mean, you've been doing all the work, so.
Good evening again. Our first 2 guests are here to discuss our bond sale, and the first guest is Forrest Langenfeld. Forrest is formerly a bank president, People's No Bank, and he's assisted District 300 with some bond issues, and I'm going to let him tell you about who he is. So let me step aside.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chuck is just a little bit behind on my resume. I was formerly a bank president, retired, and now I'm back doing that role again at Grand Rivers Community Bank with our corporate headquarters in Marion. But I am a Washington County native and still live in Centralia, so I'm through Quoin a lot. Got a lot of good things. In fact, spent about 30 years with your dad down in this town a lot. But we reached out, as we have to a number of other communities and school districts in recent months about bank financing of community improvement needs. And I've spent close to 40 years of doing direct bond underwriting, through local banks to fund projects, everything from the courthouse that was just finished over in Benton recently. We did that with a consortium of 6 community banks, all within a 25-mile radius of Benton. Saved the county, by the time that's done, probably in the neighborhood of $1.5 to $2 million in interest expense. You had a good group in, I know, your last meeting, and a good group following me tonight, both groups that I use to buy bonds for my bank and some other banks that I consult with on their purchases. So you're certainly, in good hands with everybody you're talking to. What our bank offers, and we actually take the place, do the underwriting. We work usually with an attorney out of Edwardsville, Illinois. Used to be out of Champaign, a guy who did this for 40 years who's since passed away. And but we find a way to save on the cost of the legal counsel. The underwriting cost we save a lot on, but I think the thing that would probably be of the most interest to you guys in looking at using local banks to do your bond issuances in this crazy rising rate environment that's created so much volatility in the marketplace. All our bond issuances are fully callable. And that's what happened over in Benton with the courthouse. The pandemic actually drove the sales tax up in Franklin County. All the competitors with us had 8-year call periods in there. They're going to have enough sales tax revenue, it looks like, to pay those bonds off in 6 to 7 years. And on top of just the underwriting savings we had them, there was no inability to call the bonds, which most firms that are selling bonds in the marketplace, have to do a couple of things. They have to guarantee a period of interest to their investors, and they also, have to make sure that the bonds are credit enhanced to the point that they're safe and sound for their investors. None of that it would be done with our local bank consortiums. And I've done deals in Percy, Illinois, just down the road, from Centralia to Carbondale to, Metro East to the Indiana border. We work with the local banks in an area. Started when I was at People's. We would spread it out because there is CRA benefit to, local banks to participate in deals. But we would be offering the banks here in DuQuoin and Pinckneyville and Benton and around it. Any of them would be able to, participate in this. All we're looking to do at Grand Rivers is do the underwriting, put them together. We'll get the issuance out and take it from there. Also pleased to see that you'd had Warren Ribley from Saida in to talk to you about that. I don't know if any of you know the history lesson of that organization, but it had been defunct till about a year ago. And I actually worked with Mr. Ribley, called every county board chairman in their counties to get the board reinstituted. And last fall, we did the first industrial revenue bond for the reinstitution of that district. And I believe you have a DuQuoin resident on that board. So those bonds would be double tax exempt, which is a big advantage to either the investors, or if the investors are local banks, they would take care of that. Other than that, obviously you guys are going to be concerned about pricing because of the volatility of the marketplace. We're very flexible of waiting till you're absolutely needing to go with it. We can customize the repayment terms. But, in this day and age, my gut is that within 3 years, you would be looking at probably trying to redo these bonds to save money because of the historic rate rises that we're seeing. So the ability to call them at any time, and, we save money on the front end for everybody. It'd make it less expensive and more advantageous to the taxpayers. But that is really the whole story here. I'm not going to stand here. I'm sat on your side of the table, and it's, a lot of guys probably haven't had supper yet. So I will open up to any questions, and then I'll get out of your way and let the next group of qualified guys come up here.
Forrest, you have a fee structure?
We basically set it up, it usually is not to exceed 0.5%, 50 basis points, and depending on the size of the issuance, it can even drop down a little bit from there. So most deals that I've seen, have been, 1 to 1.5% around here anyway. But the banks, we do it at 50 basis points for the underwriting.
So on a $4 million deal, you're looking at $20,000.
Yes, sir. And, we can bury it in the issuance so that you're not staring down, it can all be included there. It's-
Questions? Council, questions? So, question, the only question I have is if the council would want to, and this is a question for the Baker Group too, if the council wanted to structure the bonds where the first 2 years was interest only.
Yeah, that can be done.
The reason I say that is because we've ran some numbers, and we know that the first couple of years with the $4 million and paying that versus what the other bonds we've got that will be paid off in those 2 years is going to be cutting us a little bit close.
Okay.
And sometimes, you want the flexibility of being able to do the interest only for the first couple of years. But, on a $4 million issue, you're probably looking at peanuts. The difference between the interest only and the principal and interest
And
too.
there's ways of restructuring the old bonds into the issuance and, helping yourself with cash flow there. But we just have to look at the specifics and, see what's best for you there.
Any other questions? Forrest, thank you so much.
Well, thank you,
Appreciate it
guys.
very
and
much.
Pleasure seeing you all. And good
Pleasure
luck
seeing
on
you.
this.
Thank you.
Our next guests are with the Baker Group. You received some information in your packet about the Baker Group. So let me introduce Matt Dustin, and with him is Frank Coffey. Matt?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Dustin, and I have with me Frank Coffey, a colleague of mine. I'm from Houston, Texas. I flew in this morning through St. Louis and drove over. I've got a little Airbnb, so I'm here for the evening. I can stay as long as you need me to. I'm not in a rush to get home. Frank is from Springfield. He drove down this afternoon, and he's kind of our local guy here that sells a lot of the bonds for the Baker Group in the southern region of Illinois. You have a presentation in front of you. I think you've also received an electronic copy. Happy to go through this at whatever pace is helpful to you. Basically, I'm going to walk you through a few, if you can turn to the agenda, Ruth, please, the next page. So I've got a few things for you to consider. On this page, you can see a proposed finance team for the upcoming financing. I'm also going to talk about the market environment that we're in. I'll show you some historical rates and where that puts us year-to-date this year and kind of the significance of those changes. I'm also going to show you where I think indicative pricing levels are for these bonds if they were sold this week. I've got an estimated debt service for you so you can see what the payments actually look like. I want to talk about our qualifications both on a national scale and as well as the local distribution capabilities that we have for your bondholders. And then finally, I'll end with some recent transactions that we've done and talk about our results and our team. So on the right-hand side of this slide, you can see a proposed finance team. Top right-hand, conduit issuer. That S logo there is a conduit issuer in Southern Illinois that I think you're familiar with. A conduit issuer issues the bonds on your behalf. You're still responsible for payment on the debt service, but the issuer allows you to access other advantages that this authority has. Warren Ribley, Frank and I know him well, and we're working on some other transactions with this same conduit as well. One of the main advantages of using a conduit issuer as opposed to just selling the bonds yourself is that you get to qualify for a state tax exemption on the bond issue. So the investors that buy the bonds, if they're in the state, will also not have to pay taxes on the interest they earn on that investment. All municipal bonds, unless they're taxable, are also tax exempt from federal income tax. That's kind of a key feature of municipals. But in this case, if you sell through this conduit issuer, you can qualify for an even lower interest rate. There is a fee to sell through that conduit, but the fee should be more than offset by the interest savings because of that tax exemption. Bond counsel, if you sell through the conduit, would be Chapman and Cutler. They're the same bond counsel that the city used on their transaction last year. Standard & Poor's is the same rating agency that you used on the same transaction last year. We would recommend no changes there. Last year you got an A- rating, which is a good kind of average type rating for a city of your size. We would go back with you to them, petition for the same rating or possibly try and argue for an upgrade to A. And then moving to the kind of 7 o'clock slot on this wheel here, Assured Guarantee was your insurer. So you have an underlying rating, which is just the rating of the city's own credit, which was A- last year. Assured, they sell you a policy, you pay a premium to them, and then bondholders get to enjoy kind of another firm standing in line between you and if you find it hard economic times not being able to make a payment on your bonds, Assured would step in and make that payment. That's kind of the insurance policy that they sell you. And Assured has a rating of AA, which puts you in a category of a very safe bond, a bond that you would sell your grandmother or your mother, or that you would buy yourself, a bond that a lot of people could access because of that AA rating. If you know anything about ratings, the AAA rating is the highest, and then it goes AA, then single A, and then kind of the lower triple Bs and double Bs from there. So you on your own are an A or A-, so you're in that A category. The insurance premium that you would pay would, again, similar to the conduit issuer, would pay for itself in lower interest costs. We would help you understand the math and kind of that cost-benefit analysis as well, because the premium that you pay may not be worth the yield kick that you would enjoy if you bought the insurance, and so it may be advantageous to sell the bonds without insurance and not pay the premium. So we can do that kind of cost-benefit analysis as your underwriter when the time comes to market the bonds. BOK Financial was the paying agent. They're simply the bank or the financial firm involved in the transaction that keeps hold of all of your bondholders. These bonds can be sold in $5,000 denominations. So you could literally have hundreds of investors that could make up kind of the lot of 4 million. The paying agent's role is to get the interest payments that you make to all of those various bondholders and to send you the invoice when the payments are due. So that's kind of the paying agent's role in that category. And then, of course, the Baker Group, top left side of that wheel is who we are. We are wanting to be your underwriter and buy the bonds from you for an agreed upon price and then market them to investors for a fee. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So here's some historical rate movements. I've got the last 5 years and then the last 12 months here for you to see. These are the same indices for comparison. I just wanted to zoom in on the last 12 months so you could see kind of the precipitous changes we've had to experience in the last calendar year. So last 5 years, you can see around 2018, we hit a peak. The lighter blue colored bar is an index called the revenue bond index. Those revenue bonds are, the average rating there is A, which is similar to your rating. So I wanted to include that so you could see where A-rated bonds have been trading for the last 5 years. You can see almost 5% back in 2018, and we are climbing towards that rate again this year. Rates have grown by about 175 basis points or 1.75% in the last 12 months. And we don't see it slowing down really at all, at least not for the next 6 to 8 to maybe even 12 months. We're probably going to see similar increases with inflationary pressures on the economy, cost of raising goods, just the cost of borrowing is also going up. And you can see kind of all of these indices are moving in a similar pattern. The black bar is a general obligation bond index. The average rating on that index is AA, which would be also comparison to you if you got the insurance through Assured or through one of the other insurance providers. You can see there it's very closely mirroring the revenue bond index, which is A-rated. And then for comparison, I have the 10-year Treasury up there. The 10-year Treasury is AAA. It is a taxable index. The other two are tax exempt. You can see the difference in yield there. They're typically trading about 100, maybe even 150 basis points thinner or closer to zero, than the other two indices. But they're also moving in a very similar pattern. Next slide, please. So here's some indicative levels for you to see where we've sent these to Chuck and to the mayor. I believe they were distributed to council members already. So we have here, the par amount that you would borrow would be about 3.8 million and some change. There would be premium on these bonds, which means that the coupon rate is higher than the stated yield, and so that would generate premium at the beginning of the bond issue that you could use to pay cost of issuance and deposit in project funds. I've got your 3 project funds listed there for drinking water, wastewater, and the EPA loan payoff. And then estimated cost of issuance and our underwriter's discount. I have a 1% fee built into this for the Baker Group. That's a sufficient incentive for our salesmen kind of across the country to sell these bonds to investors. We can give a local distribution priority for that as well. And I'm also kind of earmarking another % for cost of issuance. That's to cover the cost of the conduit issuer, any attorneys involved in the transaction, the paying agent, their fee, the cost of the bond insurance premium, those types of things I've kind of penciled in there at another 1%. So you're looking at 2% total cost of issuance. The serial bonds are bonds that mature every year. We have those beginning in 2027 and ending in 32. And then we've got term bonds through the rest of the curve, the yield curve. Those are just simply serial bonds that are kind of grouped together in bigger chunks. That allows investors that want to spend more money out there on the latter end of the curve to kind of have more bonds to buy for themselves. Okay. This is what the debt service would look like if the bonds were sold today. So you can see your interest payments beginning next December 1. We've structured these as interest only for the first 4 years. We understand you have some other debt to pay off, and those big payments primarily fall off in 2026. So this allows you, it kind of accommodates that structure so that that debt service can be serviced until 26, and then in 27 you pick up in principal and interest here. The debt service on these would be right around $200,000, and then growing to about $350,000 and staying there through final maturity. The aggregate debt service on the right-hand side shows you the combined payments with these bonds and then all of your other outstanding debt service. So your other EPA loan, the other loans for equipment, vehicles, and then of course the taxable bonds that you sold last year for your pension. All that debt service is included in that other debt service column, and now you can see kind of what these payments would look like if they were added on top of your existing. This is simply a chart of that same debt service. The blue is your existing debt service, including all your outstanding bonds. The black colored bars added on top of that is the interest on these 2022 bonds. The orange is the principal on these 2022 bonds. You can see the principal is kind of stacked on the kind of latter half of this loan, and the interest obviously begins in 2023. The average borrowing rate on this deal right now, even though it wasn't referenced in my presentation, is around 4.5%. So if the bonds were sold today, your kind of all-in true interest costs on these bonds would be about 4.5%. When you actually go into the market, the rates could improve. We could get a lot of interest. We could have investors competing against each other, and we could lower the rate from there. Or the market may continue to move from us in the next 45 to 60 days when we're actually able to get into the market and price the bond, and so it could be a little bit higher than 4.5. But this is kind of where we see your bond issue today. A timeline, Chuck mentioned it would be helpful for you to get an idea of how quickly we could do this. Sometime within the next couple of weeks, the city would need to adopt a resolution that authorizes the sale of bonds through a parameter authority. So you would set parameters for the bonds where you would say, we're only going to sell this amount and no more. We're only going to allow an interest rate of this amount and no higher. So you would set all the parameters that you would want to achieve in a bond issue. It's maybe next week or the following week in a special meeting. We need around 2 to 3 weeks for document preparation. We would work with the city, the conduit issuer, the attorney, who's known as the bond counsel, to prepare that preliminary official statement. We work with the rating agency to prepare a presentation to them to kind of tell your story to the rating agency, hoping to get the same rating or better than last year. The rating agency typically needs 2 weeks to turn around a published report and to release a rating. We could start pre-marketing around the middle of November, according to that timeline. We would publish the official statement. We would work with the bond insurers to make sure that this was approved by them and that we would have them, the two of them, compete on that fee. So we're not set on using just one of the insurers. We could use the one with the lowest fee because they both have a AA rating, so it's really kind of indifferent which one we use. Bond pricing, if we're meeting all these targets along the way, I think we could price that last week of November after Thanksgiving. And that's the day, the day that we price the bonds is the day that the interest rate is locked. And then you need roughly 3 to 4 weeks for closing. Those are for kind of legal issues, administrative issues with the state, with the conduit issuer. Once we get all those necessary approvals, then we collect funds from investors. The Baker Group will wire the money to the city, pay cost of issuance, and then you have your project funds ready to go. And by January 1st, you would have all your money. Okay, so now a little bit about our capabilities to sell these bonds. We do have very, very strong local sales distribution. We've had an office in Springfield for over 30 years. The Baker Group has current customers of over 160 independent community banks and credit unions that already buy bonds from the Baker Group. And the Baker Group does more. We're more than a broker-dealer. We also manage investment and interest rate risk for these types of community banks. So they utilize the Baker Group for software services, for economic and marketing purposes, and of course to buy product from us that we underwrite. So they buy bonds, they buy agencies, they buy mortgage-backed securities, all types of fixed income investments through the Baker Group. And there's over 160 of those in the state alone that are current customers. We would be happy to work with any bank that expresses interest in buying a portion of the bonds, including with the gentleman that spoke earlier tonight. I handed him my business card when I got here to say, like, we'll take any orders that we can get on these, and we want to create competition and drive down the yield on these bonds the best we can. There's 13 independent community banks just in and around Perry County, and we put some of those on the map here. You can see some in Pinckneyville, and the cities surrounding you with the red pins there, Quoin in the middle of the map in the yellow. There's 7 registered brokers and sales personnel in the state. Frank's one of those, my colleague. So we have 7 salesmen basically right here in the state that cover accounts here that would be interested in buying. And nationwide, we have 54 brokers that sell bonds to over 1,200 community institutions. So we have national distribution as well as kind of the local that I know you're looking for. Here's some experience that we've had just in the last couple of years in your state. The Greater Peoria Sanitary District was a larger issue last year that we worked on for $28 million for big improvements to their sewer treatment facility. You can see these deals that we've worked on recently. Perhaps you're familiar with some of these communities. Next slide, thank you. Here's some recent negotiated transactions. So the transaction that you are contemplating is a negotiated transaction, which means that you negotiate really all the terms of the deal with an underwriter before you sell it. That's what we're here to negotiate with you for. So we've been lead manager on very large deals, $117 million deal just a couple months ago in the city of Pflugerville, Texas. That's near Austin. We did a very small transaction in Nebraska a couple months ago, $3 million. Also negotiated. We were sole manager on that deal. A SID is a sanitary improvement district. Basically, those are created by developers to finance public infrastructure for new housing developments. And so they sell bonds as reimbursements to the developer after they build it. And there's some others listed here on the page. Thank you. Here's some recent competitive transactions. One that I'll point out is Lake County, Illinois, that we just won a couple months ago, $28 million. So competitive deals are deals that are offered on a set day and time. You don't know who your underwriter is, but you're offering it to everyone and anyone that will bid, and then the issuer has the option of choosing the best bid that they received on that day. So we also do those types of bids, and you can see here, these are all in different states. We've got Kansas, Wisconsin, Ohio, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Colorado, Texas, all over the Midwest primarily, that we are active in this space. These are all tax-exempt municipal finance transactions. I'm wrapping up here. Our results, we are ranked 16th nationally as a competitive underwriter. We're ranked number 1 in Indiana this year. We're number 6 year-to-date in your state. We've done 685 deals in the last few years. That's a total of $4.1 billion underwritten. And so we do a lot of volume, but we want to pay attention to each transaction as they happen. So we're well-staffed, and we're also really well-capitalized. We've got $44.3 million in net underwriting capital. That's capital that we can put at risk in that, in the event, let's say on the day of sale, there's really bad market news and a lot of investors are scared off, but you still want to finance your project. Well, we're willing to step up and spend our own capital, hold those bonds in inventory for a few weeks until maybe the market calms down, then we can sell them. So we have that capability to underwrite all of your deal if need be. I don't see that ever happening, but occasionally, in a really choppy market, we may end up holding a quarter of the bonds that we were trying to sell that day. That's pretty typical. A quarter is even kind of high. Maybe we hold an eighth of the bonds at the end of a 24-hour sales period. So we hold those. We hold them on our books. You still get all of the money that you're wanting to borrow. And then we find another day to sell those bonds to investors. Our team here, just a few pictures. This is me, top left. I'm the director of public finance. I've got a few colleagues on the banking side with me, and then our underwriting team. Most of these guys are in New York. Chris and James and Christian are all in New York. We've got a desk there. Dana is our credit specialist. She's in Oklahoma City. That's actually where we're headquartered. The Baker Group is, we've been around for about 40 years, headquartered in Oklahoma City, but we're kind of a regional player now. I'm in Houston. My colleague Brian is in Dallas. We're kind of spread out all over as we become more of a national firm. And I think we have one last slide here for any questions that you may have for me. If we can get the lights too. Happy to entertain anything. I know I threw a lot of information at you. Hopefully I wasn't moving too quickly, but happy to answer whatever you might have for me.
Anybody got any questions? Chuck, this is going to be your department here.
No, I don't. I guess we're kind of at the mercy of the market,
Yes.
so.
When's the next time the Feds meet? I can't remember.
They could have, this year has been really interesting because of all the talk about inflation, so they'll probably have another fall meeting. But I think they'll have a regular scheduled meeting in February.
If it goes up 3/4 of a basis point, you see the bonds going up a little bit too?
Yeah, they won't follow that exactly. They won't go up 3/4 of a basis point. That's what the Fed did at their last meeting. A lot of the bond market kind of already bakes in those expected hikes, especially as they're kind of transparently marketed by the Fed. So if they're talking about another meeting, they're still seeing inflationary pressures, the bond market will start to bake that into the rates already.
Okay, I don't have any questions, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Great presentation, though.
Thank you.
Okay. Did we do anything, Aaron, about if we wanted to move on this tonight?
Yes, sir, I have I believe that we have it in our packet.
Yeah.
We have an ordinance with a blank.
It's B.
Yeah.
Yes, it's ordinance 2022 01001. And it basically says that we would appoint blank as underwriters for the proposed bond sale. So if the council is ready to move on that matter, we do have an ordinance.
Okay.
in the,
Before we think on that, let's go ahead and do, let's do number 8, 9, 10, then we'll do them in order, but I just wanted to make sure. Under appointments,
Now you have one more guest.
oh, I'm sorry.
Pete.
Pete. I'm sorry, Pete.
Tell me when you're ready.
Pete Spittler, to accept no invitations. I know you guys want me to state my name, so. I did have a script prepared, and I realized I forgot in my car, so we're off to a roaring start already. So if you just want to pass these around to the council.
First one up?
Not yet.
Okay.
I know the council has a busy agenda tonight, so I'll get straight to the point. There is a Dr. DeQuoin comic book in development. I've been commissioned to write it. It's been written since early August. I'm about 2/3 of the way through storyboarding it now. Red Banana Arts, David Clark is illustrating it. He's a local artist out of Carterville. I am very blessed to have such an exceptional writer work with me on this project. And honestly, without his help and assistance, this wouldn't even get off the ground. We're hoping to have it out next year. Like I said, a lot of it depends on how quickly I can finish through storyboarding the rest of it. I've got about 62 panels done so far. I don't know, it's been a while since I talked about him in this setting, but if you remember, Dr. DeQuoin was a family practice doctor in the later stages of DeQuoin's Victorian era. He was a longtime believer in the paranormal and turned to the mortuary services around the turn of the 20th century. He used to hold seances in the back of the family funeral home as a means to help grieving family members maintain a spiritual connection to their dearly beloved. If you want to put up the first slide, please. What I'm showing you is the first of going to be 2 slides here of a teaser that was prepared. The teaser doesn't give away really any of the story of the comic book, just sort of a little bit of a taste. The first one in the upper left there, that is the doctor's funeral in 1902. The doctor was strolling through DeQuoin in October of 1902. He witnessed a group of children crossing the tracks in front of the St. Nicholas Hotel, which is now the St. Nicholas Brewing Company, all cleared in front of a oncoming passenger train. All cleared the tracks safely except for one, a little girl who became transfixed at the side of the oncoming locomotive, and the doctor saw this, rushed over, and was able to push the girl to safety before he was struck and killed. In those times, grief was a much more public practice, so the town mourned him for 3 days, and he was interred in Sacred Heart Cemetery. As you can see in the upper right-hand corner of the doctor's symbol, the forward letter D, the backward letter D, and then the letter Q through all 3 letters in everlasting memory. And then if you want to turn to the next slide. And in the next slide, we see the doctor preparing for his return. In the top 2 panels, that is Mortimer. That is the skullhead staff he has. Mortimer is originally not the doctor's ward. It was originally a possession of Mictlantecutli, which is the Aztec god of the dead, ruler of the underworld. At some point, Mortimer passes from Mictlantecutli to the Order of the Whispering Children, who eventually bestow Mortimer to the doctor. Now, I'm sure your next question will be who the Order of the Whispering Children are. The Order of the Whispering Children consists of the souls of children who have given their lives in selfless sacrifice, usually through some heroic act. If you ever had a premonition, a gut feeling, sense of deja vu, maybe a little voice in the back of your head warning you not to trust someone or not to make a particular decision, that is the Whispering Children. And then you can see on the bottom, the awakening of Dr. DeQuoin, which would have happened in 1922, which is actually where the events of the comic book pick up, which was during the city's previous paranormal emergence. And any questions?
So the comic book when be next year?
Yeah, I'm hoping for first quarter, but that Mr. Clark is quite busy, but I'm trying to get things in line fairly quickly. I'm excited for it. You know, it's something totally original in a world of copycats and sequels. So, but if there's one thing that I would want the council to take away from this presentation tonight is that Dr. DeQuoin died a hero. Fate and the threat of invasion brought him back. He is a protector of DuQuoin, always has been, always will be.
Okay. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
So, the Halloween parade this year, the tourism has decided to make Dr. DuQuoin as the parade marshal. And I understand he might be coming in on a hearse, is that correct?
That's the running plan, I've been told, yes.
Okay.
I know some people like the convertible, he tends to prefer the hearse.
Okay. So, and on top of that, starting tomorrow, if anybody's family would like to have the opportunity to trick or treat with Dr. DuQuoin, there's going to be a drawing for that. And they need to call City Hall, or they need to stop by and give the family's name and address and the phone number. And the night of the Halloween parade, we'll draw one family that will meet the character at Crespin Square. That would be on Sunday, October the 30th. So that would be kind of like a little teaser for everybody. So we'll post something up on Facebook tonight or tomorrow and get the interest flowing with that. But Pete, we truly appreciate your interest in this project. And Pete and I have talked about the comic book, and he's writing it, and he's got an artist that is doing all the artwork for him. And there'll be a first publication next year. We don't know whether there'll be a second or a third each additional year after that.
Yes, for more.
Yeah. So I told Pete that the city would be willing to help with the publication cost on that. I think that's well within my purview of what I can spend at one time. So we'll get the distribution out of the comic book next year, and we'll move forward. So appreciate your presentation, Pete.
Thank you. I wish I would have brought my script, but I think I did okay when we.
Well, it's a fun time, and I mean, people, Halloween's sometimes scary for kids, but everybody dresses up a lot for Halloween, and with Dr. DuQuoin going to try to trick or treat with a family, it's up to the individual family whether they want to register or not. If it's if it's too scary for the kid, they don't have they don't have to do it. It's voluntary. So hopefully it'll be a good night of fun for the family and for Dr. DuQuoin. So thanks again, Pete.
Thank you, Mayor.
Under appointments, we have lost another policeman to the state police. Josh Cushman was called at the last minute. I think he had to be there on Saturday, and he was called on Monday, which gave him a 5-day notice. We're very happy for him, and it's with regret that I'm going to ask for a motion to accept his resignation. But also, I would hope that the state police would find it within their common sense to, when they find these officers from these municipalities, that they give them and the municipality more than a 5-day notice. Most places, when you resign from a position, it's usually 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And I don't know why the state can't do that. They drag their feet on everything else, but they seem to move right ahead with these state policemen. But good for Josh, and we wish him well. He served the community in a very professional way. And at this time, I would entertain a motion that we accept his resignation with regret.
So moved with regret.
Moved by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Genizio. Roll call.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Genizio,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Mayor Longi.
Yes. Okay, we're going to consider ordinance 2022-00902. It's an ordinance authorizing the Southern Illinois Economic Development Authority to serve as the issuer for the capital project for the bond issue for final approval. We made this decision at the last meeting. We're going to move forward with it, gentlemen. Ladies, or lady, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Genizio,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Kirkpatrick. Roll call.
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Longe?
Yes. Now the decision about the underwriters. This is ordinance 2022 R1001. It's ordinance appointing the underwriters for bond sale for public debate or public display. We've had three of them, Stiefel Nicholas, we've had Baker Group, and we've had Forrest Langenfeld. That's all did a presentation to the council. I prefer to move our business around a little bit, to be perfectly honest with you. We used Stiefel Nicholas last time, and although I've known Forrest Langenfeld for a long time, we go back a long way, but I'll just tell you my preference would be the Baker Group on this one. Any questions? I'd entertain a motion that we move forward on public display and pass at the next meeting for final approval that the underwriters would be the Baker Group. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Genizio,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Kirkpatrick. Roll call.
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Longe?
Yes. So, Matt and Frank, I guess we'll be doing business with you. Mr. Novak has a planned trip with his family, so let's kind of all work around his schedule. You two guys get together with Chuck before you leave this evening and kind of find out what his schedule is. If you can meet with Ruth real quick after the meeting, just the four of you get together and try to get this thing coordinated. I'd like to get this bond sale done as quickly as we possibly can. Congratulations, guys, and we look forward to working with you. Okay, item C is Resolution 2022 R1001. It's a resolution authorizing redevelopment between the City of DuQuoin and Centerstone Apartments LLC at 210 East Main Street. There was a synopsis in your packet for that. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval to move it for public display.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Kirkpatrick,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Genizio. Roll call.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Longe?
Yes. Item D is Resolution 2022 R1002. It's a resolution authorizing the redevelopment with Pete N. Regio at 12 East Main Street. Again, there was a synopsis in your packet. Basically, the project ended up costing Regio Shoebox a little bit more than what everybody anticipated, and Mr. Ashar has put a TIF agreement together to increase that. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Kirkpatrick,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Ward. Roll call.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Mayor Longe?
Yes. Item E is Resolution 2022 R1003. It's a resolution authorizing the relocation of solar panels from the DuQuoin Industrial Park to move to MPP Incorporated for public display or debate. As you know, we have a large amount of solar panels that actually sit on the property in which we are going to put the water tower on. And we're wanting to relocate a certain number of those to MPP where they could, where they could benefit from the solar power. And Ashar put a program together to make that happen. And again, it's in your packet for explanation. I hope you've had a chance to read it. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Actually, for public display, I'm sorry. The motion by Commissioner Genizio, Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ward. Roll call?
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Mayor Longe?
Yes.
Item F is Resolution 2022 R1004. It's a resolution authorizing the Business District Redevelopment Agreement between the City of DuQuoin and BL and CW LLC, which is the Indian Car Wash. They are in the process of putting together a remodeling project that will include security cameras, and also they are going to put blowers at the end of their automatic car wash. I guess this was spurred by the new car wash that's going to be in town. Everybody's got to keep up with the Joneses to be competitive, so they came to the city, and the city has put a business district deal together. Any questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval. I'm sorry, public display.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Kirkpatrick. Roll call?
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Mayor Longe?
Yes. Item G is Resolution 2022 R1005. It's a resolution authorizing the assurance of a parade permit for the DuQuoin Tourism for the Halloween Parade. This will be for final approval. We've done this every year. It runs from Banterra Bank to the park. Is there a motion for approval?
What's the date?
Thursday, the 26th or 27th? Is that right?
27th.
27th.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Kirkpatrick,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Ward. Roll call?
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Mayor Longe?
Yes. Item H is Resolution 2022 R1006, a resolution condemning 219 South Hickory Street for final approval. I think we need to have a little bit of a discussion on this one. So Aaron, I will turn the microphone over to you, and if Doug needs to speak to it, he can.
Well, this premises actually has been a problem premises for over a year. The city started correspondence with the owner of this property. The most recent copy that I have is actually December the 2nd of 2021. That goes back as far as that particular point, where the city was asking the owner of this property to connect to the city sewer. This property is not connected to the city sewer, which of course is in derogation of our ordinances. Our ordinance basically states very clearly that if the sewer is within 300 feet, it is not optional, it is mandatory that it be connected to the city sewer. Well, in this case, this owner has not done so, but the problem is exacerbated by the fact that the septic tank, which is servicing this premises, is in damaged condition. I think the lid has been broken on it, and the sewage is running out on the lawn. Neighbors have been complaining about this property. We do have this particular defendant regarding three issues ready for court. He's coming for a status hearing. We had him in court last month in September, and he will be returning this coming Wednesday at 9 o'clock for three matters. First is failure to remove trash and debris. The second is allowing people to reside in a camper, and the third is failure to hook up to the city sewer. So the matter is in fact pending before the court. However, the neighbors are, I think, pretty well barraging the clerk's office with complaints about this effluent coming from this septic tank, this broken, fractured septic tank. There's other issues with the residence itself that are troubling, that are violations of our ordinance. The matter has been actually has been the subject of a rather extensive correspondence and action by the Perry County Health Department. One of the neighbors, the immediate neighbor, in fact a relation of the owner of the property, filed a complaint in January of this year with the Perry County Health Department. Perry County Health Department has been corresponding with this the owner of this property throughout the year, and as most recently August the 15th of this year, I went to the property, spoke with the parties, took pictures of properties within city limits and within 300 feet of the city sewer. They've written letters in January, February, certified letters to this individual, and it seems that nothing is motivating this person to comply with our ordinances. So that's why the matter is coming before the court, but we also need to deal with the issues of the deficiencies in the house. I know it's a long explanation for a relatively brief question, but the matter has been a long and ongoing problem for over a year.
So the septic system, the reason the county won't take care of it is because it's within our corporate limits,
That
is
is
that
correct.
correct?
That is correct, sir. We're going to have to do it. We're going to have to address it.
Well, I mean, the thing, if you condemn the property, that doesn't mean that doesn't really mean anything at this point in time. I mean, they still have the opportunity to remedy the situation.
That is correct.
It's just that we're just holding that over their
That is correct, sir.
head, is that
And
correct?
nothing can happen very quickly, as you know, with condemnation, because first thing I have to do is have the title work done on it. That's going to take probably at least a good 3 to 4 weeks just to get the title work done. Secondly, as I said, Judge Gross already had this particular defendant before him last month. He gave him an additional 30 days, and said, we'll do a status. He's not even got this scheduled for an actual trial on the other issues, the non-compliance issues that I mentioned earlier. It's not scheduled for trial in October, it's scheduled for status hearing. So if nothing is done, he will probably set it down for trial in November. So again, this gentleman will get yet another 30 days with respect to the ordinance violation issues, and then it's going to take probably every bit of 60 days before we can get it before the court as far as the condemnation. So yes, the opportunity exists for the gentleman to rectify the situation. And of course, there's been many of these where we have condemned them. Mr. Tony can speak to this issue, but there have been many of them we've condemned them. Folks have worked with us, and then we have subsequently lifted the condemnations. So if this gentleman wishes to do so, I mean, he'll have more than ample opportunities.
And how long has it been since the health department has made their inspection?
Well, they initiated their correspondence on this matter in the January the 12th of 2022. They sent a certified letter to the individual on February the 16th. They had more contact with him on February the 25th. Then they went by the house and waiting on information from him on March the 3rd, March the 4th. An email was sent to the assessor's office regarding the property. March 28th, letters sent to both the individual that owns the septic tank and the adjoining person who was the complainant in the case with the public health. And then on the 15th of August, they went past the property again, I say they being the health department, and spoke both with the defendant as well as his brother, who was the complainant with the health department complaint, and basically made the conclusion that the property is within the city limits and within the 300 feet of the city sewer. So they concluded that there's no question they have to hook up, but since it's our jurisdiction, they won't take action and take it to court themselves.
So Aaron, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that after condemnation, it's going to take you 3 weeks approximately to do title work. What would the cost of that be to
The
the
cost of the
city?
title work will probably be somewhere in the $500 range.
So if it's something that, we have a court date coming up, why, I understand you can condemn it and then rescind that, but we would be out the money.
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
But we could condemn it and tell you not to do anything with it until.
That's correct also. You can do it that way. You can pass the resolution to condemn and tell me to hold off on the title work. But of course, I cannot
And the
file.
status hearing is?
The status hearing is tomorrow, is Wednesday.
Is
This
Wednesday.
coming, as in, not tomorrow, but the day after.
Yeah, I guarantee you we'll get another 30 days.
I'm confident, well, it has to be another 30 days because it's only set for status. It is not set for trial. So if the gentleman says, well, I'm not going to do anything, then at that point in time, Judge Gross will say, okay, we're going to set this for trial in November.
But, sounds like to me somebody's been dealing with this for 10 months now.
Yes, sir.
And there's been no action at all.
Absolutely not. In fact,
But the property is jointly owned by two brothers, correct?
no, sir, no, it's not. It was divided in an estate. It was divided. The problem has been, the question was whether or not that the septic tank was entirely on the person that we have in court, or if it was on the complaining brother's property. As I understand it, the septic tank is all 100% on the defendant's property. However, the complaining brother has placed a fence which is now partially on the defendant's property. And the defendant is saying that this fence is what is preventing him from being able to rectify the septic tank issue. The whole problem is apparently the fence, there was no surveying done when the fence was placed, and so the fence supposedly overlaps onto the defendant's property. That's part of the issue.
I mean, I would be for voting the condemnation and not doing anything with the title work or anything until the litigation's done. That's where I would be.
The ordinance violation litigation.
Well, I had I had some interaction with the water department, because we actually shut their water off and had, with the sewer running on the ground. And that's when I had Ron get in touch with the health department on this. So really, I was having trouble understanding all the dynamics of this thing. So Commissioner Ward and I, we went out there today, and so I could get my arms around this thing. The big issue I see here, notwithstanding a civil mess, yes, in fact, he is within 300 foot of a sewer, but there is no sewer in front of his house. That's only a force main. The only available sewer is going to be on South Street to the south and Franklin Street to the north, of which the defendant is landlocked, and he has no ability to hook up to those sewers. He
Chuck, that property is divided north and south, 25 feet each. Stanley owns 25 feet on the west side, all the way to the alley to Hickory, or to South Street. So he's got that whole area, it's his, according to the county courthouse. That whole area is his. He is not landlocked there. Where his trailer, where that septic goes into that septic tank, which is broken, the lid's laying off of it, it's open, anybody can get in there and fall in it, terrible mess. All the way to South Street, he's not landlocked. That's
Well,
his. That's Stanley's.
he showed me the survey markers of where the fence was,
Yes.
basically what he says is his property line, which he has, with the fence being there, he has no ability to,
That fence that comes across, east to west on that, right behind, is on him. Anything on that 25 feet west is his. All
No,
the way to the
I mean,
alley,
going north and south.
From the
Yeah.
alley to South Street is all his. That's all his. That's
Well,
all Stanley.
so-
The east side belongs to Bruce.
yeah. So with that being said, the biggest issue I see there is the sewer on South Street is 20 feet deep. It's extremely deep. The sewer on Franklin Street is 5 feet deep. So the question that I had to the council for consideration, and he was agreeable to, to get it done, would be much easier and less expensive for him to go to the north if, and I don't know if the city owns that lot. We had a condemnation and cleared that vacant lot on the corner of, I don't know. Would be if the city would give him a utility easement.
If we
To-
own it.
Well, I'm talking
Still
about
don't
on
see
our
it
part
right away.
on the right of way, to give him a utility easement to get to that sewer on Franklin Street to hook up. He was agreeable to that. He said he would sign any agreement, timelines that was reasonable to get that done.
Something else that makes this unique is the septic tank was working until his brother went in and damaged it and didn't hook something back up. And, the defendant, he said he knows I've got to get on the city sewer, and he wants to do this. He has some health issues, and also all he has is Social Security, but, I spoke with him, told him, your family needs to step in here and help out with this. But he knows that he wants, because he could go in there, I guess, and knock that fence down and try to get someone to repair that. septic tank, but knowing that's not the type of person he is it's gonna result in a big court battle, a fist fight and everything else, and he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, apparently the house and the trailer were sharing the
Right.
septic, and then
Yeah.
one party cut it off, and then that's when the violation happened.
The house is empty,
Yes.
so but he can't get under there to hook the sewer up until they get that septic cleaned up, because it's still dumping they're still using it, because they had 2 buckets of water out in front the other day, so they're dumping it in the sewer buckets and stuff, but that's what's coming back up on the ground.
So, yeah, technically, if he was on his property, presumably, if he was to cap that one side for his use and get it back in order, then could he temporarily use that?
The septic?
Until,
No,
but
not
I mean,
according to state law.
because he's been using it for years.
Well, that doesn't make it right. It says
Until-
in the ordinance you can't do it, the state law says you can't do it.
And, until he gets hooked up.
You can't do
to-
what?
That, the septic tank's broken. It's not operable. The lid's off of it. It's caved in. You saw that.
I know
City
that.
building,
Now, I know,
septic tank.
yeah,
But
I've
it
seen
costs me
that.
more to fix a new septic tank probably than put it.
Well,
get it
we're
hooked
not
up to
talking
the
about
sewer.
putting a new septic in here, because he's fully agreeable to get hooked up to the sewer up there.
But Chuck,
The question I had to the council is, would we be, or Aaron, would we be willing to give him a utility easement?
I don't see why we wouldn't be.
Um,
I mean, if he's gonna do it, I don't see why the city, I would advise the council to consider it.
Yeah.
Does he have the financial means to do it? That's the first question. The second
I don't
question is,
know.
the second question is, do we have any liability knowing that there is a open septic system
We've-
and the health department has made a report and the city doesn't, or I guess we would be okay if we would have an agreement to get it done by a certain time, but I mean, I would want an agreement that it's got to be done
Yeah.
within 120 days or something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
think we could do that, but we need to do something to prevent children from falling in this open septic tank. I mean, something needs
It's
to be done.
fenced in, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Also, they're
completely
living in a
fenced
house with
in.
no running water, which is another violation of the city ordinance.
Yeah, the septic's fenced in. It's not accessible to.
Children, well, that's good. That's that much good.
Do they need to put a sign on it?
No trespass, I would think. That would protect them also.
So what type of liability do we have for that septic system not working and us knowing about it and the health department has already written it up?
Well, the problem's gonna be, again, whether, if they will stop using the thing, because as I understand it, the neighbors are complaining about the effluent that's running onto their property. And I don't mean the brother, I mean, there's some other neighbors, I think, that was complaining, weren't there? From what I understood.
I don't know, was that the property the lady was in here
Yeah,
talking
the
about
lady
the
that
other
was
day?
here, I think she's been complaining, the one that came with the pictures of the trailers the last time, she's complaining about, I think, about the effluent.
Well, I mean, the easiest way to mitigate the problem would be to cap the line and get it sucked out.
Yeah,
So your overflow's gone
Yeah.
then.
And that wouldn't be that expensive. He could cap that where it won't even go to the septic tank. Cut it and cap it, as you say, Chuck.
Well, it wouldn't have the ability to run out with the shared service. It'd be capped. It would be capped on, to separate them, sealed, and then have it pumped out, cleared out. Because apparently
I mean, to prevent anything from going on to the septic tank again, where that way we know it's done, no more is going to the septic tank, cut that line and cap it.
oh, yeah.
the only thing I just wanna say, that just in Doug's defense, Doug started trying to work with these folks back in December of last year. And it seems like that they just, I don't know if they just don't want, how do I say it? Nothing has happened in 10 months.
How many feet do they have to reach the sewer system, and would that cost be borne with us or with them, and how much would it cost
It
whoever?
would be borne with them. I'm thinking probably 160, 170 feet.
And
to the
at what
north.
cost?
I don't know what the contractor would charge. The pipe charge and the tapping fee, you're probably looking at $1,000 maybe or less.
And you say his only source of income is Social Security?
That's what he told us today, wasn't it?
How's he gonna be able to afford that?
He's got some family to help him. I mean, it's gotta be done if he wants to stay there.
I think the county told me it's 125, 130 feet from the alley to South Street, or that, north to south, that's what. I don't know how far it is going up the other way.
It looks like it's a little bit shorter going to South Street, but the expense on that's gonna be huge because of the depth of the sewer. If there wasn't a lot of utilities in the way, he could zip up through that utility easement and get it hooked up pretty quick with a lot less expense.
So how do we mitigate the problem right now, Chuck, with the septic system and him dumping in the septic system?
I would get it sucked out and have that line capped.
Would your people do that?
No, since it's on private property, I'd say no.
So there's additional cost there.
He would, well, I mean, he had normal maintenance on that anyway, every year, so those the contractors he used to empty the septic would come out and empty that, and he indicated to us he could cap it.
I think they were actually doing that, sucking out until the fence got put up.
I think that's where the first thing came. He wasn't doing that, and his brother emptied it out into that yard across the fence, and that's what brought it all ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
It's a
civil
mess.
issues there.
Like you said, his family's the one that's reporting most of this problem.
No, his family. He's got some, no, his son, he's got children. His children are willing to help him.
You're talking immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
So, consider this. You and Mike got involved in it today. So why don't you and Mike come up with an agreement, try to get this thing done, since you guys are showing the interest in it.
I'll try to help anywhere I
And
can.
we'll, and you work with Aaron and Doug, and the council will give them 120 days to correct the deficiency and get hooked up to the city sewer and do it right, and if not, it comes back to the council for condemnation.
Fair enough. We would just need to consult with you on,
I'm ready to, as far
That's
as,
fair enough with you,
we-
Jill?
as far as doing the easement, I'll just need to get a description. I don't know how
But
we'll
it's
get
120 days.
120 days from
4
today.
months.
You want to do about the no running water? Because you can't live in a house with no running water. That's the city ordinance. And we shut it off because they use the sewer. I mean, water bill and sewer bill is on the same, they didn't have a sewer bill.
well, that's why I'd mentioned if he got that cleared out of that septic.
Well, he's on sewer anyway. He still, if they shut his water.
Well, I don't think we're turning a blind eye to the ordinance, Doug. I think we're giving them 120 days to get it figured out.
To get it all straightened out.
To get it all straightened out. And if it's not done in 120 days, and it's not to your and Aaron's satisfaction, then it comes back to the council and we vote to condemn it. I think that's the agreement that we've got here.
We'll try and figure
Or
out
did you
this.
want to wait?
Whatever you need,
Like
Chuck,
I said,
let me
he's
know.
gonna be in court Wednesday.
Whatever you need
But
from me.
the judge's probably gonna give him another 30 days, and after that, he'll probably give him another 30 days, and then it's gonna go to trial. And in the meantime, we'll have this agreement going on this other side.
Holler at me anytime.
Our agreement will probably be done, and probably the condemnation will come back here before Judge Gross gets done with the case.
Very possibly, very possibly.
Is that fair enough? Is there a motion on the floor to do that? The motion on the floor would be to give this person an agreement to not exceed 120 days, and it be worked out between Commissioner Ward, Commissioner Genizio, with the help of Aaron Atkins and Doug Tony.
May I ask, before the motion's made, Your Honor, may I ask, would you also be wanting me and Doug basically to advise Judge Gross that we're giving them the
Yes.
120 days and ask
Yes.
him to
Yes.
basically follow the case along
Yes.
status for that period of time,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, give the
Okay.
court the stipulations of the
Right.
agreement.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
Fair enough?
yeah.
So is there a motion on the floor for that?
So
Can we do
moved.
that if it's not
Yes.
listed as a I mean, it wasn't.
We
Well,
probably need a
here's what,
motion to
no, you're
table
right, we
on it.
can't,
We'll have to bring it back the next meeting.
we had an ordinance and
Okay.
we can't, and since we're not, or a resolution, that we had a
Okay.
resolution condemning it, we're not doing that, so we can't vote on
Okay, so
this.
we'll bring this
Yes.
back, that gives them 2 weeks
Right.
for you guys to get
Craft
things
a-
together,
craft a
cranked
solution.
up, and then
Okay.
tell them that we're gonna bring it back for final approval, or for, well, we can do final approval, because we're not spending any
Right.
money.
That's correct.
So we'll bring it back for approval at the next city council meeting, but you guys have a 14-day window of.
Okay.
To craft a
moving on.
solution, yeah, to work it out.
Is that fair enough, Jill?
And
So,
the
so do we
minutes-
need to make a motion to table this pending the agreement?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make the motion to table pending the potential agreement.
I second.
Motion by Geneseo, second by Ward. Roll call?
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Mayor Longi?
Yes. Item I is Resolution 2022-R1007, a resolution authorizing the closing of certain streets for trunk or treat for final approval. We've done this for 5 years now. It's Main Street, and it will be closed off from the railroad tracks eastward to the Grand Show. Is there a motion on the floor?
And that's Friday, the 28th.
That would be Friday, the 28th, that's
Yep.
correct.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Kirkpatrick,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward. Roll call?
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Mayor Longi?
Yes, is there any other business?
I have something.
Okay.
The packets for the election, the mayoral race and the commissioner's race are now available in the city clerk's office Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4. You can come to my office and pick up your packet. Petitions, you will have to get 6 signatures on your petitions, and then they will need to be filed December 12th through the 19th of 2022.
And all people that sign petitions must be a registered voter living within the corporate limits of the city of DuQuoin,
Correct.
correct? Okay. Jill's asked the questions on the dates, but I'll confirm them. First of all, the Halloween parade will be Thursday, October the 27th at 6 PM. You got ahead of me, Jill. Trunk or treat will be on Friday, October the 28th, from 6:30 to 8:30. Trick or treat will be October the 30th and 31st, from 6 to 9 PM for all children 12 and under. Good? Okay. Is there any other business? We'll start with commissioner comments. We'll start with Aaron.
Nothing, sir, thank you.
Stephanie?
No, sir, nothing.
Chuck?
Just congratulate the DMS softball and baseball team for their third-place state finish. And I know Mike wants to talk about Josh, but congratulate Josh Cushman, and I wish him well in his new career with the state police.
Mike?
Yes, same thing. Congratulations to our softball and baseball teams, and hate to see Josh go. He's went through a lot with us for such a young man, and to not be turned off for police work. State police is getting a good one. He's stuck with it, and he's was really become a good officer for us. And local young man, and whoever steps in has some big shoes to fill. And just wish him the best and praise for a safe and long career with the Illinois State Police.
Jill?
Yeah, ditto. Good luck to Josh. Thanks for your service here, and congrats to the baseball team, softball team, and the cross-country team was regional champs, the middle school girls, and they have a state tournament a week from Saturday, and it's huge at the fairgrounds. So they had Class S and Class L, so a lot of fun out there. So good luck to all of them, and excited about the trunk or treat and the parade and Dr. Death coming back.
Dr. DeCoin.
DuQuoin. Dr. DuQuoin.
I don't know if Steve Williams would appreciate that.
Dr. Death, okay? That's a good one, Jill. Ruth?
Well, that's a little bit, that's pro wrestling, right?
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to address the council? I'm sure you'd like to come up, would you, Joyce?
Yeah.
Just come right on up.
When I was here last time, I mentioned about the offer on the table. that you all was supposed to give me $5,000. And Sheila Haggard with Shawnee Alliance is the one that told me about this. I don't have any positive proof, handwritten or anything, but Sheila Haggard did tell me 6 different times, like I told you the first time, $5,000. I can't use the money to buy another house, but I can rent if somebody will rent to me. The second offer was I had to move out of DuQuoin. The third offer was I had to move out of Perry County. Y'all didn't answer that question. I've never received anything in writing, but Sheila Haggard also said that if I did not accept your offer, you all were going to foreclose. So my question to you was, what about the offer? Are you going to foreclose? I know when you tore my house down, I was supposed to be notified when to go to court. Certified letter, sheriff served me, DuQuoin Police served me. I received nothing. I did not know when that house was going to be tore down. I was not able to get anything out because I didn't know when I was supposed to go to court, yay or nay for condemnation, or if I'd be able to live in it. I wasn't able to get any of our possessions out. We left one night. We stayed all night in Cesar because we had that awful storm. The next night we come home at midnight, surprise, no house. So I hope if you all are going to foreclose, I hope that's not the same scene, the same scenario like when you condemned it. So my question is to whoever, was $5,000 on the table? Was it if I didn't accept it? Was the place going to be foreclosed? I'd like to have an answer.
We've not voted on anything 5,000. You come to these meetings, so. no,
Pardon?
There's no offer on the table.
Well, then why would Sheila Haggard come tell me that 6
You come
times?
to council meetings, we're not discussing an offer that I know of, that I voted on, so.
So that was
my
never
answer is
discussed
no.
with Sheila Haggard?
I have no idea. I've never met Sheila Haggard.
Oh, well, she's with Shawnee Alliance, and, you know, I'm not saying you all are storytelling, but I also don't believe Sheila Haggard would come tell me a different story for 6 weeks in a row and say if I didn't take the offer, y'all are going to foreclose. So are you all going to foreclose? Or was there $5,000 on the table offered for me to move out?
I already
What?
answered no
No, okay,
on
Well,
the 5,000. but-
okay. So then she must have just pulled it out of her hat. So what about the foreclosure?
Yep.
And Joyce, you were served with the condemnation. You were served. It is in the court file.
Well, I never received anything.
You were served. Judge would not have entered the condemnation order without having personal service on you. You were served.
Never, or I would have showed up in
No,
court.
you were served.
I would have showed up in court.
You
Am
were
I going to be
or-
served?
Or we had it in the newspaper, one of the two. I don't have the file in front of me.
Well-
But you were served. Judge Campanella would not have entered a condemnation order on that property without having you served.
Well, it doesn't seem like he would, but
You were served.
I never received anything, or I would have done my best to try to get out some personal belongings. So am I going to be served for the foreclosure?
Yes, you'll be served with the foreclosure.
And how will that be?
It'll be personal service, just like the other one was.
Well, I was told it would either be certified letter, sheriff's deputies, or DuQuoin Police. So-
Certified letter will not work. It may be DuQuoin Police. If the private process server cannot locate you, the DuQuoin Police will be appointed as special process server, yes.
Well, I'm not that hard to find. You all find me when you want to. So when has these proceedings started?
Whenever that I get time to get it done.
Oh, you haven't started it yet.
I've already got the title work done, yes.
You've got the title work done. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Kirkpatrick,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Genizio. Roll call.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Genizio?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Longe?
Yes. And this is